I think it's so important, especially on this road to adoption. No, not especially. In life, how are you loving others? How are you showing up for people? Are you seeing them? Are you treating others? I mean, this is such basic life lessons, right? And surprisingly, so many people need to hear it again, or we need to remind ourselves. Are we taking accountability for how we show up in the world and how we treat others?
Welcome to the Adoption Roadmap Podcast, your go-to guide through the beautiful, complex, and transformative journey of adoption. I'm Rebecca Gruenspan, a single mom through adoption consultant for over a decade, author of the Adoption Roadmap book, and your trusted guide. In each episode, we dive into real experiences, expert insights, and the raw, honest truths that you will need to navigate your journey. Whether you're just beginning, in the thick of it, or well past placement, you'll find support and community here to help you navigate this unique path with confidence and love. Adoption isn't all rainbows and butterflies. It is life-changing and worth every bit of effort. Let's learn, grow, and journey together on the Adoption Roadmap Podcast.
Hi, and happy Saturday. I hope this finds everyone well. Welcome to This Week in Adoption, which I have been remiss in doing, at least on time. But hopefully you saw the announcement, the big announcement that is now official, which has been keeping me busy, which is that I am now the new owner of Our Chosen Child, which does graphic design, designs profiles, waiting family pages, social media packages, intended parent pages for surrogacy or profiles for that, anything that has to do with family building graphics. I'm really excited about it. And yeah, I'm trying to match a baby born right now, which is why I am looking over there. I know someone just requested to be on video with me. I am going to graciously deny that request for now. But I'll keep going. I just attended a funeral via Zoom because now you can do that. And it was a friend of mine, not a close friend, but I've known her for years. She is younger than I am, with 3 small kids, and she died of cancer, and she's been struggling with cancer for many, many years. She is somebody who, as was described, was easy to love. Wow. Isn't that a beautiful way to be described? Easy to love. And I wanted to just share some of the lessons that came from the many people that shared thoughts during her funeral. Because I think it can be related to so many parts of our lives, and especially going through adoption. Many of us come to adoption having experienced a lot of loss in our lives, a lot of trauma, maybe miscarriage, maybe the loss of a child. I've worked with people who have lost their husbands or a parent. And somebody said, it takes courage to mourn. It's a process that cannot be rushed. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because, and it's funny, I just got off a text message with somebody who's the agency that's dealing with this baby born, sharing that one of the families that presented had struggled with infertility. And as I have, as many women who I work with have. And one of the things we ask in the first form that you fill out with us was if you struggled with infertility, did you give yourself that moment to mourn, to grieve, to breathe, to take a breath, to give yourself some space? Because mourning is a process that can't be rushed. Even now today, I get a ping in my heart, and I wouldn't change anything from my life, the way it has turned out, for the way I became a mother, because it has led me down so many beautiful paths. And it still hurts a little to know that I will never have a child that looks like me, that has my characteristics. I have to look to my nieces for that and my nephews, but especially my nieces. And they have some of that, so that's nice. That's where I get it from. But I find that when people either come into this process wanting to go down two paths at one time, or who have just suffered their last IVF treatment or IUI and it didn't work, or miscarriage, and they jump right into adoption. What I find very often is that those people at some point stop because it's too much and they need to take a break and they need to give themselves some time. Now, not everybody. Some people have already kind of gone through the grieving as they're going through the process, expecting that that's what's going to be the outcome. But most people need a moment. And I think I have makeup all over my face because I was crying so hard. So that's one thing, is to give yourself that moment to grieve, to give yourself space, to just shut one door to open another. But you don't have to shut it all the way, because I think there's always going to be a piece of you that thinks about that, and that's okay. But each path, whether it's trying to get pregnant, whether it's, adopting, deserves your full attention, because it's a lot. It's not for the faint of heart. It's a lot. So give yourself that space. That was one lesson. Another thing that was brought up, here's what my note says. Being there, seeing people, noticing, celebrating them, or reaching out to give them a hug. It goes a long way and it comes back to you. So what does that mean? My friend Christine was a woman who, and the story was told, that she would go to church and notice this one woman would leave a lot and come back, and leave again and come back. And she didn't know that this woman was leaving to go cry in her car because of whatever she was grieving. But she sensed something, that she was not happy or that she was struggling. And she saw something in her. And she reached out to her and had coffee. And they talked through it. And Christine said, "You don't have to go through this alone. I'm here for you. Can I give you a hug?" Which left such an imprint on this woman. And they became fast friends after that. And Christine continually told people, let people care for you. Let people be there for you. Don't struggle alone. I see you. And so what that meant for me, as it relates back to adoption, it's not an easy process for most of us. And many people have a hard time being in community where you're seeing lots of other people adopting and sharing their celebration. And you have to remember that they were once in your shoes, struggling too. And so if you can find it in your heart to look at that celebration online as, one, a lot of hope for you, and two, finding it in you to celebrate with them outwardly and seeing them where they're at, even in times of celebration when you might be struggling, that comes back to you. That is a reflection of you and how you show up for others, and how in turn others will show up for you. So when you see somebody celebrating or struggling, I invite you to see them wherever they're at and be what they need you to be. Whether it's just a smile, a hug, I see you and I've been there, or hopefully a celebration, knowing that they just went through their own journey and that now you're on it. But can you find it in yourself to be happy for them? Dare to dream big and say yes when you really want, when you're really feeling like you want to say yes, even when it's scary. My friend Christine dreamed big and she did a lot. She had a lot on her plate. In fact, she gave birth to her third baby. Never forget this. She gave birth to her third baby in between chemo treatments. And I guess having the flu, which I didn't know. And I think her little one is like 2 or 3. No, maybe she's a little older. Maybe she's 3 or 4. I don't know. She's small. But about a year after having her baby, maybe not even, she scheduled a coffee with me to talk about adoption and the possibility of adopting. She was also a doula. Possibility of adopting. And I was like, is this woman serious? She just had a baby. She has stage 4 cancer. Maybe it was stage 3 at that time. Still going through treatments. And she's thinking about adopting another baby? God bless. Wow. Dare to dream big. If you feel it in your heart to say yes, take that risk. Taking risks, big rewards, right? And boy, did that woman take risks and dream big. And the rewards that she reaped were seen in that room today that celebrated her. If you're in the adoption process, number 1, I invite you to think about how you are the whole way through. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But how you enter the process, right? Or how you pivot if you've been trying one thing and it hasn't been working. Are you starting that new path with dread and resign to, and I've heard this before, I don't expect it to work, but I might as well try, or just a bitterness? I invite you to reframe that and look for signs of hope. Dream big, have grit, don't give up, keep getting back up. Some people have to do that a lot. I will tell you that my friend Christine, who I am dedicating this live to, I have watched her online live out the last 2 to 3 years of her life in the biggest, boldest, bravest, most beautiful way than I have ever seen anyone live their lives. What a beautiful lesson. And I thank God that I had the opportunity to tell her that before she left this earth. What a lesson, seeing other people, being there, dreaming big, taking risks, finding joy in everything. So not only did she meet with me about adopting, but she also was a bar instructor, and during COVID brought a group of women together to exercise and also talk about just things, life. I don't even remember. But I took that class with her, and at this time she had lost so much weight. She was really, really bone thin and had lost all of her long, beautiful blonde hair and had regrown into a very, very short, kind of curly-ish, wavy hair that looked so different from. But she found the strength to do the things that she loved, which was bringing community together, lifting up women, and fitness. And so I had to support that, and I had to take her class. I originally met her through a direct sales business, Arbonne, that I had been doing for years and still do occasionally. I use their products. And that's how I originally met her. Speaking of daring to dream big, saying yes when you really want to, even if it's scary, and taking risks, it made me think of two different families. One of my family, both of whom experienced 2 fall-throughs. That means if you match with a mom and you pay money to the agency and then it falls through, either mom decides to parent, or maybe it's a scam, or for whatever reason it doesn't happen, and you end up losing a lot of money most of the time. I had one family who, just after 2 fall-throughs, both of which they traveled for, to come home empty-handed, which is some of the hardest, most excruciating moments that one goes through if you've experienced that in the adoption process. Just said yes to another match that is like 6 months out. Now, they didn't talk to me about it up front, which we usually we suggest all of our families to do. And maybe it's better that they didn't. I would have probably tried to talk them out of it, because Mama Bear comes out and I'm like, oh my God, after all the loss and all the money that you have lost, you're now going to wait another 6 months? It's so risky. And yet they said, most of the situations we're seeing are long. And if it does work out, why wouldn't we say yes? It all looks great. And I love that. They're absolutely right. Or another family who also had two fall-throughs and traveled for both. And when they got the call for a baby born, and even though mom hadn't signed yet, and they had to get on a plane if they wanted to go and adopt this baby, the husband said to his wife, they want us to get on another plane and travel again. We've done that twice. Are you sure you want to do this? And the wife said, so what? Absolutely. Yes. We're packing our bags. And now they are parents to the baby they know that was meant to be theirs. Christine loved so big and so intentionally. And so I could just imagine being at this church and how full it must have been. And so many people spoke about her in that way, how big she loved and how intentionally she loved. I bring this up because through my 12 years of working in adoption, I have been met time and time again. No, not time and time again. Occasionally, with people who show up and they are so mean and so bitter and talk down to me, or have so much fear and it's playing out in just such an ugly way. How do you treat people, especially when you are hurting? How do you leave people feeling? How are you showing up? And are you taking accountability before pointing the finger and blaming and shaming somebody else? When I'm feeling a certain way, when I treat somebody a certain way, usually it's tied to the fact that I have a lot of stress or anxiety or fear, and that's okay as long as you own it and come back and apologize or address it, name it, you know? I think it's so important, especially on this road to adoption. No, not especially. In life, how are you loving others? How are you showing up for people? Are you seeing them? Are you treating others? I mean, this is such basic life lessons, right? And surprisingly, so many people need to hear it again, or we need to remind ourselves. Are we taking accountability for how we show up in the world and how we treat others, especially right now in the world? I'll come back to that in a minute. Christine created community, and every single person in her communities that she created felt seen. That's what I want. You have heard me talk about the power of community if you have spent any time with me over the years. It is powerful. I heard people today talk about how Christine used to tell people, no matter what, you need to be around people. Let people love you, care for you, educate you. Just be with the energy of community and show up and give to that community. Don't just receive. And when you can do that, the power of community is so strong. When I get on virtual play dates with people, which is something that we do after our families adopt, they come back, they bring their babies so we can have a little bit of a love fest. And I just had one of those this past yesterday. And I asked people, what was some of your, what was a big takeaway that you had? What was your biggest aha moment? Or what would you tell others that you took from your adoption journey? Inevitably, at least one person in the group will say, the community really showed up for me and I needed that. And for many people, it surprised them because they didn't think they did need it or want it. And yet that's what gave them strength when they needed it. And Christine knew that, and she built communities so that people could be together physically and feel that energy, whether it's physically or virtually. Community is so important. I had a conversation with somebody this morning who had a match with somebody through an agency that had there's some pretty nasty things said about said agency or person online, and I'm well aware of it. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm personally not a person who will read something online that's negative or hateful, or in reading it feels like, ew, a gross situation happened. It's so easy to jump on the bandwagon of hate and negativity and toxicity. It's easy when you're reading what people write. You think, how could somebody possibly do that? That's disgusting. And you want to be part of the people. I don't know, maybe you want other people to see that you too think that's gross because you don't want people thinking, if you don't, that you're a bad person. I don't play that game, I've learned. And I was taught that by an old boss of mine who said, Becca, before you comment about some of these things that are being posted online, just remember, they don't know the facts. They heard one small little thing and they're running with it. And unless you know all the facts and all the sides, you're putting fuel to the fire that doesn't need to be fueled. That's a lesson that has stuck with me forever, or to this day at least. So I've really taken, when I see myself wanting to do that, I step back and I say, okay, especially in adoption, I know better. This is one piece of a much bigger, way more complicated story. So when this family called me and said, I read all this negativity, my answer was, first of all, you have to make your own gut decision, and whatever that decision is okay. I tend to give people second chances, and I always go to the source of the people being talked about and said, okay, what's the other piece of this story that I'm not reading? And only then will I make my own determination. My own determination, not yours, for you, not to tell anyone else what they should be doing. People are human. Look at them in the eye, discuss the situation, find out what really happened, and then make your own decision. Whatever you decide is right for you. But I believe innately people are good. They want to do good, especially in the adoption world. And also, there's a lot of ethics police out there. Most of the time, if you ask someone why they do what they do when somebody else is looking at it not as an unethical practice, they have an answer for you as to, from their point of view and from what they've experienced, why they think this is a good thing. So maybe who is everybody else to judge it? I don't know, maybe it is right, maybe it is wrong, maybe it's right for some people, maybe it's wrong for other people. I don't know the answers, but I do know that before making a decision, I talk to all sides. People are really quick to villainize people, and I don't want to be one of those people. Why don't we come together to support and uplift each other during such vulnerable, painful, and a beautiful journey instead of being so divisive, right? Why can't we come together and understand each other more and understand the why behind things and try to do things better together as a community? The adoption community is not that big, but instead it's so divisive. And that's okay, because if you have passion for adoption, you're going to have some strong feelings. But maybe if we can come together to understand all sides of it before making a judgment, that would be a better way. I don't know. You tell me. Dare to dream big. Say yes, take risks. Love big and love intentionally. Christine, my friend, my love. It was easy to love you. It was easy to love you. Don't you want people to say that about you? See people, notice them. See people in their pain, see people in their joy. There's a lot of both in the adoption process. Let's be there for each other in community and lift each other up. Have a good week.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Adoption Roadmap podcast. If you did, I have a few favors to ask of you. First, please hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're at it, I'd love to hear your takeaways. Please write a review and let me know what you liked. And if you have a question or a suggestion on what you'd like to hear, I'd love to hear that too. Please shoot me an email at support@rgadoptionconsulting.com and let me know what you'd like to hear about. And if you have a question, I may just answer it online. Thanks again for listening. Tune in every Wednesday and Friday morning for a brand new episode of the Adoption Roadmap podcast. Until next time, bye-bye.